This video is brought to you by AKS IAS.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Mithun and I'm from Kerala. I'm Malayali. I've done my Masters in English Language and Literature from Kerala University. I've been teaching in Hyderabad for more than 10 years. I teach at many institutes here, many civil service institutes. I teach for SSC, CAT, GMAT, some other courses as well. So for civils, I'll be dealing with the CSAT part in Prelims and the writing skills part in mains. It's a writing, right? So first we'll discuss something on CSAT, then we'll go for something on writing skills. I can understand Telugu really well. I can manage speaking as well, right? But I cannot be fluent. Anyway, our conversation be only in English. Right? Anyone from any other states? Anyone from Kerala? No, right? Which state? Okay. Tamil Nadu. Can you understand Malayalam? Okay. Karnataka. Fine. Now, to begin with, when we take any test into consideration, whether it's civils or any test, two things are getting tested, and the two things getting tested are, one is aptitude, and the other one is attitude. So these are two things getting tested. Now we need to focus on both, the aptitude part and the attitude part. Now come to first section, aptitude. What do you mean by the word aptitude? Aptitude means what? You can make some guesses. Aptitude. Yes? Some guesses. Your logical ability, right? Reasoning ability. Now as a whole I can say, aptitude deals with knowledge, right? And talking about English, knowledge here refers to knowledge of the English language. Now as you know, there is no need for us to have a good knowledge about the English literature, but we need to have a good knowledge about the English language. Because in our test, what is getting tested is not a knowledge of the English literature. What is getting tested is a knowledge of the English language. And as far as our examination is concerned, right, CSAT is concerned, in the verbal section, we have only two. One is logical reasoning, the other one is reading comprehension, right? So we have only these two sections in the verbal part. So there's no need for us to focus on the grammar part actually, because there will not be any questions based on grammar. There will be questions only on these two, logical reasoning and reading comprehension. Now these two, logical reasoning and reading comprehension, these two come under a section called verbal logic, right? These two come under verbal logic. Now logic means what? Logic refers to making sense. Now in fact, verbal logic questions are intended to test our reasoning ability. Now as you know, there is no need for us to create any option. The options will be given to us. Our only task is applying the concepts, find out the exact answer. And it is not about choosing the correct answer, it is about choosing the best answer. Because in some cases, there may be more than one correct answer. So among the correct answers, our task is to find out the best answer. And we always give a reason like a sentence or an option sounds correct, or an option sounds incorrect. We don't want that reason. Because an option that sounds correct may be incorrect, an option that sounds incorrect may be correct. So only task is going by the concepts. Now when you talk about reading comprehension and logical reasoning, I told you we will not go for any grammar topics in detail, because there will not be any such question in the examination. But some concepts in grammar will surely help us while approaching these two, logical reasoning and reading comprehension. So we'll discuss only those important concepts which will be helpful to us while approaching the verbal logic part, the verbal part of our examination. Now when we take a logical reasoning question or a reading comprehension question, the two things we need to focus on are, one is understanding the context. Now understanding the context means the meaning of each and every sentence or each and every idea must be understood best. That is understanding the context. The second thing is identifying the charge. Now identifying the charge in the sense whether a question or an idea carries a positive charge or a negative charge. So these are the two things that need to be focused on while approaching every type of verbal logic question. Now there are many concepts or strategies that help us understand the context. There are many strategies that help us identify the charge. So we'll discuss all those concepts in detail before we start with the exercise part. And as you know, knowing the concepts is not enough. You must be able to apply the concepts. So the application part we'll think about once we complete the concepts. Now, the way you eliminate options in the case of mathematics using the charge, the same way you can eliminate options in the case of English using the charge. Now, when you take a question, you identify the charge of the question. If the question is positively charged, the answer must also be positively charged. So all the negative options can be eliminated. Similarly, if the question is negatively charged, the answer must also be negatively charged. So all the positive options can be eliminated. So all the concepts we discuss in the class will be based on these two, the context and the charge, right? Now in our sessions, we'll discuss every exercise, every question, every option based only on the concepts. If you say A is your answer, you must tell me based on which concept is A your answer, and based on which concepts are the others not your answers. That means every decision of ours, whether it's selection or elimination, must be based only on the concepts and not based on guesswork at all, right? As you know, last year in 2020, the answers to the questions were not explicit. The answers to the questions were implicit. Now we may come across short passages as well as long passages, right? Now last year in 2020 paper, we had both long passages and short passages. Before that, some years and all, we had only short passages. And before that, long back I'm saying, very long passages used to be there. Now there is no need for us to get frightened seeing the length of the passage. The length of the passage does not matter because the concepts remain the same or the approach remains the same. Now sometimes long passages are much easier than short passages. The answers may be very direct in the case of long passages. Whereas in the case of short passages, we may come across some confusing options, right? So you must be, even if you come across some confusing options, right? Or you may feel that two options are correct, maybe the correct answer to that particular question. So even though you come across two correct answers, your task is to find out the better option. And that too based only on the concepts. You need to have a valid logical reason for selection as well as elimination. So I'll discuss the concepts regarding context and charge with examples. Now, as you know, whenever you learn a rule or a strategy, associate every rule or every strategy with an example. We may forget rules, but we may not forget examples. So with the help of examples, we can easily recollect the rules. So we'll discuss every rule with an example, and we'll go for the exercises based only on those concepts. Now here, there are some concepts by name double negation and redundancy. Double negation, this concept will surely help us eliminate options while approaching both logical reasoning and reading comprehension. Now the concepts of logical reasoning and reading comprehension are almost the same, right? Are almost the same. In the case of reading comprehension, we're going to focus mainly on 7 types of questions. Now every type has got its own approach. So when you take a question or when you come across a question, identify which type of question it is and then move accordingly, right? I'll tell you all those types in detail once we complete the concepts and before we start with the exercises. In the case of logical reasoning, we're going to focus mainly on 9 types of questions, and those questions also have their own approach. Now in the case of logical reasoning, a short paragraph will be followed by one question. In the case of reading comprehension, a passage will be followed by 3 or 4 questions. That's the only difference actually. And everything depends on the way you understand which type of question it is and the approach you take. Now double negation in a sense, when 2 negative terms come together, the meaning becomes positive. As you know, minus into minus is plus. Now this concept helps us identify the charge of an idea. If I say antiseptic, antiseptic is a negative word or a positive word? Now anti is a prefix. What do you mean by prefix? How many alphabets in English? How many alphabets in English? That's a false belief actually. Now since childhood we have been learning that there are 26 alphabets in English. No, that's a false belief. There's only one alphabet in English. Which is that? Which is the alphabet in English? Yes? Yeah? Sorry? E. So what about A, B, C, D and all? No, not that. It's not a funny question actually. Now, there's only one alphabet in English. Now, A to Z are not termed as alphabets. Now, A to Z are termed as letters. And the letters from A to Z are termed as the English alphabet. Now, all languages have only one alphabet. The rest are called letters. If I say, my name is Mithun, Mithun, should I say there are 6 alphabets in my name? There are 6 letters in my name. Now, all those 26 letters together can be termed as the English alphabet. Right? Prefix, pre means, before. Right? The letters that come at the beginning of a word is termed as a prefix. Now, anti is a negative prefix, meaning against or opposite. Septic is a negative or a positive word. Wound becoming septic, a negative. So, anti is a negative prefix. Septic is a negative word. 2 negative terms coming together. Double negation. Antiseptic becomes a positive word. Anti-ragging, anti-corruption, anti-terrorism, anti-virus, all these are positively charged only because of double negation. Not impossible. Not impossible, negative, positive. Same thing. Not is negative. Impossible is also negative. 2 negative terms coming together. Double negation. Not impossible means possible, which is positive. Not bad, negative, positive. Same thing. But not bad means good, but not bad cannot be termed as that positive. Not bad means an okay kind of performance. An average performance is termed as not bad. Still it is positively charged because of double negation. Now this concept will surely help us in the case of both reading comprehension and logical reasoning. Now when you go for reading comprehension, as you know, some of us get tensed when we are not able to understand the whole passage. Now what I say is very simple. Don't try to understand the whole passage. Now, if you try to understand the whole passage, it becomes a waste of time. It becomes an utter waste of time. Because the questions that follow the passage will not be based on all the details given there in the passage. That is for sure. So if you try to understand the whole passage, it becomes an utter waste of time. And while approaching questions on reading comprehension and logical reasoning, never go for any kind of general knowledge or imagination. Now, whatever general knowledge you have, you keep it with you only. You can use it in the GS part, not in the verbal part. So, no imagination, no general knowledge. Even if the author says a blunder, we have no choice. Agree to whatever the author says. Now, we need to just go for a reading of the passage in a light way. It means go through the passage very quickly, giving importance to some words. Now, there are some words that can be termed as keywords. I'll give you the list of keywords, some indicators and all, some keywords. Focus only on those words while reading the passage. That means go through the passage very quickly. Now, even if you go through the passage very quickly, you will be able to understand what the passage is about. Whether it's about history, geography, literature, politics, that you will be able to understand. That's the only thing you have to care about while reading the passage, not the understanding of the whole passage. Then move on to the questions. Every question will be dealing with a particular topic. Understand the topic of the question and go back to the exact part of the passage where the topic is mentioned. One topic will be mentioned only in one part of the passage, undoubtedly. One topic will not be mentioned in more than one part, mentioned only in one part. So focus only on that part of the passage where the topic is mentioned. Just forget about the rest of the passage. Compare only that part of the passage with the options. That means the option that we select as the answer to that question must be from that part of the passage. That means if you find any word or any detail in any option not given there in that part of the passage, without thinking much, just eliminate that option. That means all the concepts we discuss must be applied only on these two. That part of the passage, the topic is mentioned, and to the options, just forget about the rest of the passage. This is the approach we need to take in the case of reading comprehension. Now, when you go for reading comprehension, you read the passage first or questions first? No, I always get this reply that you read the questions first and then move on to the passage. You can go for that method, questions first and then the passage, but that is termed as a last minute approach. We have just 2 or 3 minutes left. And if you have a whole passage to be completed, you can go for that method. questions first and then the passage. But if you go for that method, you can never be sure that the answers you mark are the exact ones. Sometimes you may come across a main idea question. To answer a main idea question, you need to know what the passage is about. I mean, it's a topic on which majority of the details are given there in the passage. That you can understand only if you read the whole passage quickly. That means to answer a main idea question, our primary focus must be on the first paragraph and the last paragraph. The introductory paragraph and the concluding paragraph. Now, regarding essay writing and all, we'll discuss. The two important paragraphs are the introductory paragraph and the concluding paragraph. The concluding paragraph is a reiteration of the introductory paragraph, right? Not repetition, right? It's not repetition, it's a reiteration of the introductory paragraph actually. So if you go through the introductory paragraph and the concluding paragraph, you can answer a main idea question. And that is one of the types of questions we have to focus on in the case of reading comprehension. So it's always better that you go for a quick reading of the passage before you move on to the questions. As I told you, our task in the case of at the time of examination is to find out an option that is there in the passage, that is given there in the passage. The option that we select will undoubtedly be grammatically correct, because all the sentences gone for by the author in the passage should be grammatically fine. So there's no need for us to check for any grammatical mistake. The only thing is we need to answer according to the question. Sometimes more than one option may be correct as per the passage, but our task is to answer according to the question. And logic is all about making sense. In the case of reading comprehension, what you come across is most of the questions begin with the question word why. As you know, the question word why is for reason. Actually, verbal logic questions are intended to test a reasoning ability. So most of the reading comprehension questions begin with the question word why. And why, a question starting with why is one of the 7 types we'll focus on when we start with the exercise part. Now if I ask you a simple logical question, I go for a sentence. You just tell me whether the option I give to that particular question can be agreed to or not. The option I give for that particular question can be agreed to or not. Now here, there's a concept by name indicators. Now in English, there are 3 kinds of indicators. The 3 kinds of indicators in English are contrast, support and cause and effect. I'll tell you in detail, right? If I go for a sentence like, if I go for a statement like, beauty is present everywhere, comma, beauty is present everywhere, comma, but not everyone identifies it. It means it refers to beauty. It is a pronoun. There is a concept called pronoun antecedent. You know what a pronoun is, right? Any word that is used instead of a noun. On the place of a noun is termed as a pronoun. A singular pronoun can refer only to a singular noun. And a plural pronoun can refer only to a plural noun. Beauty is present everywhere, comma, but not everyone identifies it. It is a singular pronoun, referring to which noun here? Beauty. Beauty is singular or plural? Singular or plural? It is not singular, it is not plural. There's nothing like beauties actually. Beauty is not singular, not plural. Beauty is uncountable. Like water. Water is uncountable. Knowledge is uncountable. Beauty is uncountable. Now, uncountable nouns always carry a singular verb and a singular pronoun. So, it refers to beauty. Now, I told you, never try to understand the whole passage, right? Our focus must be only on the option and the sentence that talks about the option. The meaning and the charge of the option. Meaning means a context. The meaning and the charge of the option must be the same as the meaning and the charge of the sentence that talks about the option. So we can select an option only if these two are satisfied. Only if the meaning and the charge are satisfied, we can select an option. If the charge is fine, but if the meaning is not, just eliminate that option. Fine? Now, you can take it as a logical reasoning question. In the case of logical reasoning, you may come across statement-based questions and paragraph-based questions. Statement-based question means a single sentence will be given, followed by a question, like an inferential question, assumption-based question. Paragraph-based reasoning means a short paragraph followed by a question. If it is statement-based reasoning or paragraph-based reasoning, the approach remains the same. You take it as a logical reasoning question, statement-based question, right? Now my question is, this is a sentence given as a question. Now my question is, from this sentence, can you go for a conclusion like, some identify beauty? Can this conclusion be drawn from this sentence? Yes or no? Yes? Anyone saying no? Yes? I say no. That's why I said, what sounds correct may be incorrect, what sounds incorrect may be correct. The only thing is going by the concepts. As you know, guesswork will never help us. If you want to go for guesswork, there's no need for us to come and attend the session, or there's no need for me to come and give a session, right? So no guesswork, the only thing is going by the concepts. So we have no choice but to go by the concepts. I say, from this sentence, we cannot draw a conclusion like, some identify beauty. Now, in this sentence, we have two ideas. Beauty is present everywhere is one idea. Not everyone identifies it is the other idea, right? So we have two ideas in this sentence. You know what a conjunction is, right? What's a conjunction? What's a junction? A meeting place. A place where two or three roads or lines meet is called a junction. A conjunction is a word that connects two words or two ideas. We have two ideas in this sentence. And these two ideas are connected by the conjunction but. I term but as a contrast indicator. I'll give you the list of indicators, right? I term but as a contrast indicator. What do you mean by the word contrast? Contrast means what? Contra means what? Yes? A contradicting situation. Something that is opposite to another or against another. A contradicting situation means an opposing situation, right? Now, but is a contrast indicator. A contrast indicator always suggests a change in the charge, right? Change in the charge means from positive to negative or from negative to positive. That means a contrast indicator always tells us about a transition in the sentence, a shift or a change from one to the other. We have two ideas in this sentence. The first idea is beauty is present everywhere, negative, positive. Positive. Now we can identify the charge of an idea based on the words in the idea. If the author uses positive words, the charge will surely be positive. If the author uses negative words, the same thing, the charge will surely be negative, right? So beauty is present everywhere. This idea is positively charged. And but is a contrast indicator which suggests a transition. The first idea is positive, so second idea must be negative. So not everyone identifies it must be negative. So in the sentence given as a question, we have two ideas connected by but. The first idea is positive, the second idea is negative. Clear? I told you, identifying the charge will surely help us eliminate options. The meaning and the charge, I repeat, the meaning and the charge of the option must be the same as the meaning and the charge of the sentence that talks about the option. The option I gave is some identify beauty. This option is negatively charged or positively charged? Positive. There's no negative word here. And some identify beauty is of course positive. So this option is positively charged. Now, exactly which idea in this sentence talks about this option? The first idea, second idea? Yes? Second. Now, there's no need for you to think actually. You can just see. Identifying beauty is talked about in the second idea. So this option is talked about in the second idea, not in the first idea. So to know whether this option is correct or not, we need to compare it only with the second idea. You just forget about the first idea, right? Compare it only with the second idea. According to the sentence, the second idea is negative, positive, negative. I told you, if the question is negative, the answer must also be negative. If the question is positive, the answer must also be positive. From a negative sentence, we cannot derive a positive meaning. From a positive sentence, we cannot derive a negative meaning. So this option is talked about in the second idea. According to the sentence, the second idea is negative. This option is positive. A positive meaning cannot be gained from a negative sentence. So this conclusion cannot be made from this sentence. One reason. That is based on the concept. Then, not everyone identifies beauty. Not everyone means. What's the meaning of not everyone? Not everyone does not mean some. Not everyone means no one. The meaning of not everyone is not some. The meaning of not everyone is no one. Now, even if you don't know the meaning of not everyone, you can eliminate this option based on the charge, right? You may select this option thinking the meaning of not everyone is some, but not everyone means no one, right? Even if you don't know the meaning of not everyone, as I said, you can just eliminate this option based on the charge. Negative and positive will not go together. If I go for an option like no one identifies beauty, correct? Yeah. No one identifies beauty, negative, positive, negative. This is talked about in the second idea. The second idea is also negative. Negative and negative go together. Not everyone is the same as no one. The meaning remains the same. The context is fine. The charge also remains the same. That can be the answer. Getting it? If I go for a simple logical question, if I say, in the case of our, when we approach a question, every word in the option and every word in the sentence that talks about the option matters. We're not concerned about the whole passage. Just focus on the option and sentence that talks about the option. Now I say, all the students in the class are writing. All the students in the class are writing. Rahul is in the class. All the students in the class are writing. Rahul is in the class. From this, can you conclude that Rahul is writing? Yes or no? Yes? Or no? Yes? No. You cannot. I said all the students in the class are writing. Then I said Rahul is in the class. Did I say Rahul is a student in the class? No. He can be a teacher in the class sometimes. I said all the students in the class are writing. Then I just said Rahul is in the class. I did not say that Rahul is a student in the class. So from this you cannot conclude that Rahul is writing. Fine. All the students in the class are writing. Rahul is a student. From this, can you conclude that Rahul is writing? Yes or no? Still no. I said all the students in the class are writing. Then I said Rahul is a student. Did I say that he is in the class? No. So he may not be in the class, sometimes we don't know. So from this also we cannot conclude that Rahul is writing. So every word in the question and the option or the sentence that talks about the option matters. All the students in the class are writing. Rahul is a student who is in the class. Fine, wait. All the students in the class are writing. Rahul is a student who is in a class. From this, can you conclude that Rahul is writing? Yes or no? Why not? You know differentiation between the and a, right? The is the definite article. A is an indefinite article. I said all the students in the class are writing. The class means specific class. Then I said Rahul is a student who is in a class. A class means any class. So he may not be in that particular class. So from this also we cannot conclude that Rahul is writing. All the students in the class are writing. Specific class. Rahul is a student who is in that class. Fine. All the students in the class are writing. Rahul is a student who is in that class. From this, can you conclude that Rahul is writing? Yes or no? Yes? Now you can conclude. I said all the students in the class are writing. Specific class. Rahul is a student who is in that class. That class means which class? Never if a sentence says that girl, immediately before the sentence there will be or there must be a sentence containing mention about a girl. Only then we can say that girl. If a sentence says these boys, immediately before the sentence there must be a sentence containing mention about some boys. Only then we can say these boys. Similarly, if I say that class, immediately before it I gave a sentence. Immediately before it there will be a sentence containing mention about a class. And that class refers to that particular class. So Rahul is a student. I said all the students in the class are writing. Rahul is a student who is in that class. That class means the class where all the students are writing. And Rahul is in that class. As a student in that class, what must he be doing now? He must also be writing. So every word in the sentence, in the option, sentence that talks about the option matter. Now you read the Hindu newspaper, right? You may come across some new words there. Now in the case of reading comprehension, logical reasoning, even if you don't have a good knowledge of the new words in the language, you may be able to get the answer with the help of contextual vocabulary. What do you mean by contextual vocabulary? I'm sorry. Contextual vocabulary means? Now, as you know, in English, one word has many meanings. The meaning of a word depends on the context in which the word appears, or the situation or sentence in which the word appears. That is termed as contextual vocabulary. Now, this is an advantage while approaching both reading comprehension and logical reasoning. When you come across a new word, just leave that word and go to the rest of the sentence. If you're able to understand the meaning of the sentence, you can make an educated guess, not just guess, an educated guess about what can be the meaning of that particular word or what can be the charge of that particular word. That is termed as contextual vocabulary. We'll go for it in detail. If I say sound, you know one meaning of sound. What if I say the boy is sound at mathematics? The boy is sound at mathematics. What can be the contextual meaning of sound here? Good. Some more words. Some more words. Good. Give some synonyms. Good. Yes. Better is a comparative degree of good, actually. Brilliant, excellent, perfect, sharp, knowledgeable. All these words fit the context. So one word has many meanings. If I say romance, does the word romance mean the love affair between a boy and a girl? Is a love affair between a boy and a girl termed as romance or not? Yes or no? How many say yes? How many say no? How many don't know? There's nothing wrong if you say you don't know. The love affair between a boy and a girl is termed as romance or not? Yes, that's of course romance. If I say, and I told you logic is all about making sense. Now while writing also same thing, the sentences you frame must make sense actually. If I say, I am in romance with this marker. I'm in romance with this marker. Am I going to marry the marker? No. Make sense or not? I'm in romance with this marker. Make sense? Or no? Of course it makes sense. I'm in romance with my mobile phone. Makes sense. I'm in romance with nature. Makes sense. Now extreme liking towards anything can be termed as romance. And the love affair between a boy and a girl is only one of the meanings of romance. If I say I'm in romance with this marker, that means I like this marker very much. I'm a nature lover. I'm in romance with nature. We might have heard of romantic poets. Right? Who are romantic poets? Are they people who had a love affair before? No, then they might have, but we don't know. Romantic poets are those who identify or realize the beauty in every object that they see. If they see a table or a desk or a chair, they identify the beauty in that. They realize the beauty in that. They appreciate the beauty in that. and they describe the beauty in their poems. They are termed as romantic poets now. So one word has many meanings. If I say toilet, he is in the toilet. He is in the toilet. Does it mean that he is in the washroom? He is in the toilet. Does it mean that he is in the washroom or not? Not necessarily. Because toilet is any private room. Any private room can be termed as a toilet. If I'm sitting in a closed cabin, which is a private room, that can be termed as a toilet. That is why we use the word washroom to make it more precise. Washroom is only washroom, but toilet can be any private room. The meaning of a word keeps changing. So when you come across a new word, there's no need for you to get stuck with that word. Just leave that word, move on to the rest of the sentence. From the rest of the sentence, or from the whole sentence, you can make some guess about the meaning and the charge of that particular new word. Now sometimes there may be a contextual vocabulary question. It's one of the types of questions that can be that we can come across in the case of reading comprehension. Contextual vocabulary question. It happens this way. A word will be given there in the question, and the same word will be there in the passage, used only once, and the options will be words. So our task is to go for a word to replace the word that is given as the question, right? May appear, may not appear. If appears, only one will come, right? Contextual vocabulary questions. If I go for a sentence like, if I say, just listen to my sentence. There are compelling incentives. You know what incentives are? There are compelling incentives to cut alcohol consumption. Right? Consumption means intake. What's the difference between cut down and cut off? Cut down means to reduce. Cut off means to lose something completely. Right? There are compelling incentives to cut alcohol consumption, comma, punctuation marks matter a lot while writing especially, comma, but is what indicator? It's a transition word. But that's no easy task. That's no easy task means that is not an easy task. Got it? Understand the meaning of a sentence. There are compelling incentives to cut alcohol consumption, but that is not an easy task. Now, my question is, I'll give you 4 options. You have to go for a word to replace the word compelling, right? You need to tell me a word that can replace the word compelling. The options are, one is influential, second one appealing, third one forceful, fourth one attentive, right? Influential, appealing, you know the meanings of these words, right? Influential, appealing, forceful, attentive. And you have to go for a word to replace the word compelling. Now, tell me this first. Based on the sentence I said, I'm not writing the word anyway. There are compelling incentives to cut alcohol consumption. In this sentence, the word compelling is used in a negative sense or positive sense. I told you, in the case of such a question, the word will mention only in one sentence in the passage. So focus only on that sentence. In that sentence, if the word is used in a positive way, the option that we select must also be positive. Similarly, if it is used in a negative way, the option that we select must also be negative. Tell me this first. There are compelling incentives to cut alcohol consumption, but that is not an easy task. In this sentence, the word compelling is used in a negative sense or positive sense? Positive? Anyone saying negative? How many say positive? Okay. Negative? Negative? Fine. There are compelling incentives to cut alcohol consumption. Consuming alcohol, negative, positive? Consuming alcohol is negative, positive? Who told you that? Negative? Yes? Yeah. Consuming alcohol is not that injurious to health actually. In medicines we have alcohol. Alcohol is good for your heart actually. Heart pumps blood like anything. Ladies take wine, right? Now why? For beauty as well, for the glow in the skin, right? When we suffer from suffer kidney stones and all, right? From the disease, doctors advise us to take beer. So alcohol consumption is not bad actually. Too much of consumption is bad. We can. From this sentence, you can identify whether it is positive or negative. There are compelling incentives to cut alcohol consumption. The sentence does not end there. Every sentence ends with a full stop. I said comma, but. But is a contrast indicator. You must always connect one positive idea and one negative idea. The word compelling is there in the first idea. You leave the first idea. Come to the second idea. But, the second idea, that is not an easy task. Negative, positive. Negative. That is not an easy task is undoubtedly negative. So, but is a transition word. The second idea is undoubtedly negative. So, first idea must be positive. Clear? So, in this context, the word compelling is used in a positive way. So, the option that we go for to replace the word compelling must also be positive. Clear? Now, the options I gave are influential, appealing, forceful, attentive. Right. Okay, how many is influential? Influential, one. Appealing, forceful, attentive. Now here, we need a positive word. Influential, negative, positive. It's both a negative and positive. Depends on the context actually. There can be negative influence as well as a positive influence. So can be negative, can be positive. Right. Then appealing, negative, positive. Appealing is of course positive. Actually appealing refers to a senses. Right. Positive. Right. Undoubtedly positive. Forceful, negative, positive. Negative, positive, or both. If I say, he has given her a forceful slap, negative, positive. Negative. And if she deserves it, it's positive. But slapping is a negative action or positive action? Negative action. So forceful slap means, the word forceful tells us about the intensity of the negative action. Intensity of the slap. So forceful slap, negative. He delivers, yes? Adjective. He delivers forceful speeches, negative, positive. What do you mean by forceful speeches? Very powerful speeches. Impactful speeches. Something creates a huge impact. Impressive speeches. Energetic speeches. Motivational speeches. Confident speeches and all. And when you say something, you should say in a forceful manner. Only then others will get convinced. And even if you say a blunder, say forcefully. I'm not asking you to say blunder. Even if you go to interview and say a blunder, if you say in a forceful manner, the sun rises in the west, if you say forcefully, the interviewer will think twice. But after thinking, you'll get to know. Whatever you say forcefully, only then you can create an impact on others. You can convince others, make them believe you. So forceful speech is, of course, positive. So word forceful also can be both negative and positive. Depends on the context. Attentive, negative, positive. Of course, positive. Right. I told you, every option that we go for must make sense. We are asked to go for a word to replace the word compelling. I said compelling incentives. You know what incentives are? I should not say attentive incentives. Incentives cannot be attentive. We can be attentive. Incentives cannot be attentive. So that does not make much sense. Eliminate it. Now we have three options. Influential, appealing, forceful. Right. Come to influential. There are influential incentives to cut alcohol consumption. Make sense or not? There are influential incentives to cut alcohol consumption. Make sense? Yeah. Incentives that influence us to cut alcohol consumption. Make sense? Yes. And of course, positively charged. Because but is there. The idea after but is negative. So anyway, the idea before but must be positive. So positively charged makes sense. Correct answer. Come to appealing. There are appealing incentives to cut alcohol consumption. That means incentives that appeal to us to cut alcohol consumption. Make sense? Yes. Positively charged. But is there. Correct answer. Come to forceful. There are forceful incentives to cut alcohol consumption. Incentives that force us to cut alcohol consumption. Make sense? Make sense or not? Of course it makes sense, right? Incentives that force us to cut alcohol consumption. Makes sense. I am forced to cut my alcohol consumption because of the incentives. Make sense? Yes, that means incentives are forcing me to cut alcohol consumption. I cut my alcohol consumption because of the incentives. Of course it makes sense. There are forceful incentives to cut alcohol consumption means incentives force us to cut alcohol consumption. Makes sense. Here in this context it is positively charged because but is there. The idea after but is anyway negative. So idea before but must be positive. So three options can be agreed to. Appealing is fine, incentives is fine, influential is fine, forceful is fine. We can go for only one option. Tell me the best option. Appealing? Why not the others? If you say appealing, I'll ask you why not forceful, why not influential. Same is the case with the other options. Yes? Appealing is positive. If you think that way, appealing must be the first option to be eliminated. Because compelling here can be both negative and positive. Influential can be both negative and positive. Forceful also can be both negative and positive. So if you think that way, appealing must be the first option to be eliminated. Any other answer? Right? Yeah. Yeah. I say here the best option here is forceful. Now we are asked to go for a word to replace the word compelling. Give me a synonym for compel. First. The synonym of compel cannot be influence. The synonym of compel cannot be attentive, cannot be appealing. Can the synonym of compel be force? Yes. So the best option here must be forceful. In the case of such a question, go for the synonym and find out the best option. So every type of question has got its own approach. So as I told you, when you take a question, understand which type it is and then move accordingly. Now these indicators, the topic indicators is just one of the many concepts we have in the case of both reading comprehension and logical reasoning. So we'll go very slowly with the concepts first. I'll give you an example based on every concept. Then we'll discuss the types of questions. Then we'll start doing the exercises. And repeat, in the sessions, we'll discuss every question, every option based only on the concepts. We'll do some questions together. I'll tell you how to eliminate options, select options. Then you should try on your own. We'll discuss in the class. Right? Any doubt? Fine. So this much is fine in the case of for introductory session to CSAT. Right? The rest we'll discuss when we move on to the sessions in detail, the topics in detail. Fine? Right. Thank you.
This video is brought to you by AKS IAS.